Archaeologists have a problem. They have a problem coming to terms with certain things they cannot prove. So, because they cannot prove them, they have to debunk anyone who asks questions about how things came about to be how they are. And I'm referring to megalithic stonework. Now, as a mason, I was for some years a mason in refractory mason. That I used masonry in furnaces in the old days when we shaped all the stones, all the blocks by hand with cutting tools and sometimes diamond saws. So I can shape stones, very hard material. Some of the material for furnaces extremely hard, but nonetheless, with a bit of dedication, skill, and patience, one can shape things quite accurately. So they fit into shapes, and you can actually have to fit them in some furnaces. So there's only a millimetre joint. We have to do that. And in the old days, you got your stones, you rubbed them and rubbed them and rubbed them, and eventually you put them into an arch or something. And in a furnace, because the gaps have to be so small, you got down to 1.5 millimetres, 2 millimetre maximum joints. So you have to be quite accurate in this. So we know it can be done using steel tools, bolters, hammers, scrutches and chisels and so forth. And then you use a rubbing stone. So we know how to do it. We know, and if you want fancy stones in cathedrals or whatever, use a template, and the template guides you to the accuracy of the stone, especially to get columns to sit plumb and straight all the way up. So we know how to do this. As yet, and recently we've seen the debunking of a guy called Brian Foster, who takes us around the world, showing us interesting things. And it's very, very interesting where he goes, because for us armchair travellers like myself, we get to see different parts of the world and see very, very fascinating pieces of masonry we simply have no answers to. And as yet, regardless what they say about the pyramids, regardless what they debunk different ideas about the pyramids, regardless they debunked the people like Brian Foster when they go to see Puma Punka or Cusco and those walls, not one archaeologist, not one academic historian, as far as I know, has ever demonstrated that they're right. Not once have they proven their theory about any of these constructions, ancient constructions. Göbekli Tepe shows there's an example of stonework. It's probably 11,000 years old. Was it the first? We don't know. Because before then, the seas were 300 feet. So they say the seas were 100 meters shallower. Not exactly 100 meters shallower, because the weight of the water on the ocean floors means the crust itself is undulated. So it's not really, we cannot really say exactly how the difference in sea levels. There's an estimation according to the volume of water, etc., etc. But there's no exact measurement, I suspect. And the rise in the land caused by the extra weight in water because of surface plastic means, we can imagine more than we can be very, very accurate in regards to the shape of the earth now compared with before the Ice Age ended. The fact that societies and civilizations all live, usually now, the best real estate is always near the coast. It always was. And for these, we must assume there were advanced civilizations before. Never mind, yes, there were Stone Age people. The Stone Age people now. Now there are Stone Age people living in America, in the jungles, and there are people going to the moon. So to say who would, and if all civilization collapsed because of catastrophe, the people that are left are the Stone Age people. They're the ones that are left. All technology collapsed, say there's a CME, coronal mass ejection, all things collapse and all packs it all in, and we've got no technology. We'll soon go back to the Dark Ages. Who survives? The people who've always lived a traditional life, and maybe a few remnants of the other civilization pass on the knowledge as they work out how to return the earth back into a more organized way of being, which is so-called civilization. But when it comes to the shaping stones, not once have I any witnessed or know of any demonstrations by any archaeologist or academic historian from any place show me and show us how they shape the stones of Puma Punka, the H-box. Just one demonstration with copper tools or bronze tools and stone tools, how they shape them. As yet, and how they move them. As yet, not one has done that. So to debunk people like Brian Foster and debunk these people who are excited about this imagination and a fascination about it, which we all are, because they have no answers until they can prove that how to shape these stones with copper, with bronze or copper tools and with stone tools. They're just saying nothing. They're worse, if you will. They're debunking people like Brian Foster at the same time. They're not proving anything. Yes, sure, we can see how the structures, the Mayans built structures with loose stones. We can see how that goes together. It's still pretty impressive stuff to get all those corners and so accurately in the right angles all the way to the top. It's still a fascinating feat of skill by the architects and by the builders. There's still a massive amount of skill involved in that to get it to stay up right. And when it comes to the walls of Cusco, with all the multi-angular blocks so tight together, now, no matter how hard we think we're going to do that, to get it so smooth and so close together like that, by rubbing and cutting stones, would take forever and a day. Stones with 12 angles, and then you get another one, a jigsaw puzzle. How do you slot them? You can't slot them in like that. Maybe they did. Maybe they had the way of pulling them out and slotting in, because that's the only way you could actually possibly think. And the amount of time to rub those stones. To rub those stones with what? Another stone? What sort of stone, if they're a sort of hard stone, you need a stone that's harder than that to rub those stones. You can't rub it with this. You could possibly, but all you do is shine the surface when you use two stones of similar hardness together. It is causing a shiny surface. You can cause friction. You can warm them up, but you will not abrade one against the other and shape it. That's simple common sense. As a mason, I know this. I know you need carborundum or something like that to shape a stone. We used to have carborundum wheels of old ones, well, no longer, and we used to use them in shape stones like that, using those. I've never heard any evidence of carborundum being found as a shaping stone yet. So when you hear people, from whoever they are, fear of their reputations or fear of the orthodox theory of just about everything these days, from climate change to everything else, the fear of what? Losing credibility because someone's dare question them and their theories, because there are no answers at all to Puma Punka in particular. But we know that there were catastrophes. Maybe they don't realise there was a catastrophe with the Ice Age collapse. That massive amount of catastrophe that would have caused. We can't date stones, etc. But we can suggest there was some sort of catastrophe at Puma Punka, which puts those stones, which causes a liquefaction or a flow of mud from from the lake there to actually then bury them. And there's no answer. There's no answers for that. We've never heard. I'm waiting for an archaeologist and historian to go up to Puma Punka and give me their take and show me how they went to a quarry, wherever the quarry is, and cut one of those H-blocks. Just one, small one, about this big. Cut an H-block this big, please, with stone and copper tools, and I will say, thank you, we apologise, now we know it was not long ago, just by the people somehow had stone tools or could get into extremely fine corners, right angle corners, and the internal angles are wider. And how you do that without some sort of geometric structure, formwork, a template, in other words. You need a template, a very accurate template, in other words, to slide it in. When your template is exact, you slide it in and rub it, slide it in and rub it. But then doing it with stone tools and bronze tools makes no sense. So when they knock, the archaeologists, the modern historians, or whoever they are, when they knock people like Brian Foster, the people into the wonder of it all, it shows they've got a lack of imagination, and they may be a little bit envious of the following people have when they've got nothing new to offer at all in regards to suggestions how the stones at Puma Punka were made and how the stones at Cusco were made, regardless of the Incas did it. There's no proof of that, and science is proof. They cannot prove their theories, so therefore dishing other people's theories is only like professional jealousy or something. As a stonemason, I question their authority on any of it at all when it comes to stone buildings. And some of the more obscure architectural wonders of the past that are left for us to wonder about and mystify. And it's actually called entertainment. That's what history is. Entertainment.